Hello, my name is Stephanie LaFand, and I teach elementary art in New York State. The lesson I have prepared is for sixth grade students. I'm going to share my PowerPoint presentation. Here. Okay. So, the lesson I have to present today is for the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. This is a lesson based on ancient Mesopotamia. The overview is that the lesson is going to be using references and independent experiences to illustrate a landscape drawing that shows depth. The drawing will be inspired by the Hanging Gardens of Babylon of ancient Mesopotamia while it coincides with the sixth grade social studies curriculum. I will be following the New York State Visual Arts Standards. These standards, in review, are about collaborating and exchanging ideas, brainstorming for relevant content, redesign objects, places that meet the identified needs of diverse learners, design based on real life experiences, recognize cultural comparisons, and the use of formal and conceptual vocabularies. This lesson is something that I have taught in my 20-year career. However, I have been tasked with upgrading it with more 21st century ideas and essential questions. So, the overarching understandings that I desire for my students are to use the visual and written references that can guide imaginative ideas. I want them to redesign the architecture or details of the school building to create an interpretation of an oasis that is inspired by the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. I want them to analyze how current culture of local farming community and other experiences of gardens influence their ideas. I want students to be able to recognize artwork from ancient Mesopotamia and how the materials that they use have withstood time. And I also want to be able to use formal vocabulary to design a building that shows depth and dimension. My essential questions are: how do artists gather references to help visualize ideas or writings? How can we change what we know and see into something new and creative? How does experiences with our environment impact our ideas for garden or plant designs? And what are some of the common features of Mesopotamian art? The first lesson in the unit is going to be learning about the ancient art of Mesopotamia. Their students are going to compare and contrast works of art from Mesopotamia, and they're going to learn to use geometric shapes to create a building that appears three-dimensional. The four artworks I have selected from Mesopotamia are the cylinder seal of Pubabi, the royal standard of Ur, the Ishtar Gate, and the Tel Asmar votive statues. I will give the students um, information, history, and knowledge about the materials, their sizes, their uses. And then I will ask the students to compare and contrast the four works of art with two commonalities and two differences. After reviewing the Mesopotamian art, I will introduce students to drawing with geometric shapes to allow for a three-dimensional structure. They will be drawing by observing real life. I'm going to take the students outside and have them use paper, pencil, and a clipboard to draw the school building. They will then review what were the benefits of drawing using observation, and we'll talk about the challenges they're faced. The way I will assess this lesson is we will sit and talk with each other about the similarities and differences of Mesopotamian art, and the teacher will give feedback while visiting and observing each student as they draw the building outside. The second lesson for this unit we'll be talking about illustrators. We will write a descriptive narrative of a garden that they have seen or witnessed, and then they will exchange their writing with a classmate who will illustrate their description of the garden. I will introduce students to the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the history of it, how it was formed. I will show them writings of the Greek philosophers who describe these gardens that were never witnessed by anybody who wrote about them. We will learn to identify descriptive words that help us visualize things that we can draw. So I have two writings here for them to look at, and I've highlighted all the description words that they could physically illustrate. I will talk about Martin Hemsrek. He was one of the first Norwegian artists to illustrate specifically for commercial printmakers, and he is known for his engravings of the wonders of the world. This is his illustration engraving of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon that was created in the 1500s. The students will also talk about illustrators that they know from books that they have read. I will be able to share Douglas Holgate from The Last Kids on Earth, a book series written by Max Brailer. At this point, students will be able to bring in their real world experience of writings that they know about, illustrations that they have seen and enjoyed. And I can use the overlay program of my classroom to write onto the television screen their book illustrators that they share with the class. I will give each student a handout where they will write about a garden that they have seen. They will be instructed to use descriptive words to help their classmates be able to draw their writing, after which the students will switch papers and a different student will be able to illustrate the writings of their classmates. The third lesson in the unit is using references to draw plants and using size, position, and overlapping to create space. They will be using a Sharpie and color to detail their illustration. I'm going to show the students how size and position can create space by showing images of the same size that are not overlapped versus images that are overlapped with varying sizes. I will talk about where they can gather references for drawing so that they have some variety, how they can go to sources such as Pinterest or Google to gather pictures of plants that can help them create a variety of different plant structures for their garden as well as trees. For the assessment of this project, I will have a student-led rubric where they will look at the rubric and figure out where they are in relationship to their project. We will talk about the creativity, being able to use specific details such as columns, arches, or anything from their personal life that they'd like to add into their garden from their garden experiences. They will be assessed on whether or not they use space by changing the sizes of the plants or whether they have overlapped plants. It's a very hard concept for sixth graders to do. Um, they will they will evaluate their color and whether they used a variety of color or is the entire project the same color green. And then I always have neatness into my evaluation rubrics because neatness is a way to show students differential instruction. So some students who are fairly good artists can put very little effort into a work, and that could affect their grade. However, I have some students who put in their absolute best art effort, and it might not be the neatest and best thing, but it is the best that they can do. And that goes into effect when evaluating a rubric. So it can be a little more personal to the student and their ability. Another assessment I would like to give would be an artwork title matching form where the students can match the titles of the artwork with the images that we have worked with. Here are some examples of artworks that the students have been working on. We are currently in the process of teaching this lesson. Here are some examples of what students have come up with based on the drawings of their school buildings. I have some students who are incorporating Harry Potter or Minecraft or other things that they are interested in to create their little oasis. And my final goal is to have them use colored pencils, possibly watercolor, to help color their illustration so that it is a nice finished drawing for them to enjoy. Thank you very much for watching my video. And if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments. Thank you.